Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We're excited to see you today. How many heard birds chirping today? It's a sign of spring. I heard all those robins out there. It was such a wonderful sound. And I want an honest answer here. How many of you actually got up in the middle of the night to change your clocks? Anybody? You never know. I wondered if anyone actually did that. I mean, normally you do it before you go to bed, but I used to think, well, you had to set your clock for 2 o'clock or whatever, and then get up and do it. Whatever. I'm glad none of you did that. I'm glad none of you would ever do such a thing. Well, welcome to Unity in Ashland. We're always happy to have all of you here, and I see some new faces today. I wonder if you would like to share your name and where you're from with us so we get to know you a little bit. Who's here for the first time? Let's start over in this section. Anybody here for the first time? No. Moving here. Yes. Your name and where you're from?
My name's Nancy. I'm from Ashland.
Nancy from Ashland. Welcome, Nancy. And you are?
My name's Trish, and I just moved to Ashland.
Oh, good. Where'd you move from?
Hawaii.
Hawaii to Ashland. All right. Good move. Welcome. Yes.
I'm Natalie, and I'm from Mount Shasta. And my daughter,
Natalie and Cammie. All right. Welcome. Yes. Who else? Yes.
I'm Andrew. I live out by the lake here in Ashland.
By Immigrant Lake. Welcome, Andrew. Yes. Anybody else? All right. Well, we're happy to see you here and hope to see you many, many more times. We have some announcements we'd like to start with. The prayer circle, of course, is on every Monday night at 5 o'clock. If you have a special prayer request, please fill out a prayer request form at the back table and put it in our prayer box. It'll be prayed for at that meeting, at that circle, and then sent on to Silent Unity for a month of prayer. So it's a wonderful way to manifest. We're excited that we now have childcare starting, at least today, and it's coming along. We have been looking for some people to handle our child care program, and we're very excited to have Kara Cruikshank to be helping out with us a couple of Sundays during the month. Now, we're still looking for a couple other people, and Arlene is one Sunday a month too, so we still could use another person or two to help that, someone that would really love to be working with our children back there. And so we're very grateful for Kara stepping forward for that. And we do offer $25 each Sunday. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of extra cash. So if you do have an interest still, please see Jane and let her know, and she'll work with you on that. So in a little bit, we're going to be blessing the children, and Kara will come up at that time. We have a few other announcements too. Let's see, Marta, you have some announcement about your drum class. You can do it from there if you want to speak loud.
Okay, I'll stand up here too. What I like to say is, come give voice to your soul with a drum. I teach drum making. They're 16-inch drums. They're $175 for the class. And I have a sheet out there. If you'd like to sign up, just put your name and email or phone number, and we'll get a class set up. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
Drumming is a wonderful way to connect with the heartbeat of the earth, so I really recommend you join her class. Yes?
I have an announcement. I'm Anya, and I'm going to be leaving the area in a month. I have a beautiful cat who's 18 years old.
Oh, my.
He's a Bengal tiger. He needs a home. He's very healthy. He's very macho, and I want a safe, beautiful home for him. So if any of you are interested, or if you know anyone, please call me up.
Okay, thank you, Anya. Candace, you have an announcement, a couple announcements. Want to come up?
good morning. So grateful to be here. It's a gorgeous day. The two things are the silent auction in conjunction with the Karen Drucker concert in 2 weeks, and it's been kind of sketchy pulling it together, but it's happening. And I really want to say thank you to the congregants here who have donated so generously of your talents and your items. Marta's donating a drum to auction and services, and there's just been some beautiful things offered. Thank you all very much. And I need somebody to help me perhaps with who's good on Excel. And I'm thinking that I could do the bid sheets and so on Excel. If anybody's good at that, please come talk to me. Oh, Fabulous.
Robert raised his hand.
Robert and Denise, let's put our heads together. Thank you. So that's going well. And the next thing is, next weekend is the prayer chaplain training. So there's a sign-up sheet out in the back. If you feel the call to learn how to pray in the Unity way and to serve in the capacity of prayer chaplain after church on an occasional basis, rotating with a number of other people, home visits, hospital visits, and there's one more. Let's see, praying. Oh, and Monday night, Monday evenings, we get together for prayer meeting where we take everything from our prayer box that should be out. Is probably out here now. We pray for them, and then we send them forward to Silent Unity, to National Unity, who prays for them for the following 30 days. So bring your issues, please, and your loved ones, and your situations, and all the things that need praying for, and put them down on a prayer sheet, and we'll pray for you. It's our joy to do this service. So if you feel called to participate in that, we'd love to have you. The sign-up sheet, like I say, is out back. Not everybody's on there yet. Only a few people are actually written there, but we have a nice list of sign-ups. So please add your name if you feel called. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing to what Candace said. If you are wanting to pray with us on Monday night, you do not need to be a prayer chaplain. Just show up and we will pray for whatever your needs are and for anybody else that you want to put in the prayer box. So please join us on Monday night. I want to announce that a week from today, today, from 1 to 4 at the Mountain Meadows Clubhouse in the Art Gallery, we have a fundraiser for Wildlife Images. Wildlife Images is a rescue center in Central Point, and they had a lot of damage from a storm. They've been closed since October, so they have no money coming in. They need to repair fences and outbuildings, and fortunately they didn't lose any animals, but they do have to repair the facilities. So there's going to be snack food and music, and just join us and have a good time. See me after if you want the address.
Thank you, Arlene. Okay, someone once said, never make the same mistake twice or you might not get around to all of them. Well, one mistake we're hoping you won't make is to leave your cell phone on Sunday mornings, but we're going to be talking about forgiveness today. So we forgive you if you forget, but if you would remember right now to turn your cell phones off, it would be a really cool thing.
Donna, are
Yes.
you finished with announcements?
Almost?
One more.
Okay, one more. You want the mic?
No, thanks. This Wednesday, the 13th, Norma is having a Journey to Completion, beginning her new group. So if anyone is interested to do shadow shamanic work with Norma, I highly recommend it. And you can contact Norma or me after the service.
Okay, thank you. That was on my list, so I'm glad you announced that. Yes, Kathy Mary.
A quick announcement. Last week we had Patricia Keel was here, and we did Diksha after church, and we Diksha givers are here to give Diksha after church if anyone would like that. So that's our thing, and receive blessing.
Okay. All right, thank you. Diksha after church. All right. And if anyone needs one-on-one prayer, I'm the prayer chaplain today. I forgot my stole, but I will be happy to sit with you and pray with you one-on-one after church. Find me. We have wonderful musicians today, always Richard Williams. We have Jane Sterling and Jacqueline Ambrose. And I believe I'm going to now bring up our beloved Reverend Norma. Let's give Reverend Norma a hand.
I'm really glad to be back here with you. And now, before we enter into the meditative and adult part of the service, we'd love to welcome the children to go with their teacher back to their Sunday school class. And so what we do is we have the kids come up here first, and we rub our hands together as the adults, recognizing that we've got energy that comes through us of love. and that the love energy can come right out of our hands toward the kids and their teacher and bless them and thank them for being with us. So thank you, Cara, for leading them today, and thanks, girls, for being here. And we say to you, we love you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ light shining in you. Can you feel the energy? Okay, thanks, you guys.
If anybody comes late, just
Send them out there? Okay, thanks. Have fun? Yeah, okay.
Well, I used to help.
So I want to open the adult part of our service with some words by a woman who I actually knew back in 1974. She was one of the first ever women to be ordained as an Episcopal priest, 1974. Her name was Alla Renee Bozarth, and she well knew the long road that it is sometimes to accomplish a worthy end. And she wrote this poem about coming home. The small plot of ground on which you were born cannot be expected to stay forever the same. Earth changes, and home becomes different places. You took flesh from clay, but the clay did not come from just one place. To feel alive, important, and safe, know your own water and sand and hills, but no more. You have stars in your bodies and oceans in your blood. You have opposing terrain in each eye. You belong to the land and the sky. Of your first cry, you belong to infinity. The small plot of ground on which you were born cannot be expected to stay forever the same. Earth changes and home becomes different places. You took flesh from clay, but the clay did not come from just one place. To feel alive, important, and safe, know your own water and sand and hills, but no more. You have stars in your bodies and oceans in your blood. You have opposing terrain in each eye. You belong to the land and the sky. Of your first cry, you belong to infinity. So let's sing this song that's sung in so many Unity churches and Science of Mind churches all over the country. Every week they sing this song, Spirit Am I. And the poem speaks to it. And join your voices with that acclamation, Spirit Am I.
So I'm going to say the words once so you can know them, and then we'll sing it together. Spirit am I, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole. Spirit am I, free to forgive and free to bless the world. Spirit am I. Spirit am I, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole. Spirit am I, free to forgive and free to bless the world. Spirit am I, Spirit am I, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole. Spirit am I, free to forgive and free to bless the world. Spirit am I, Spirit am I,
beautiful job on that. Oh, we need to learn that. Isn't it a great song? Oh, it just opens your heart. Now let's go into a beginning meditative moment together. The theme today is about coming home, and that forgiveness is our boat to get us there. So this meditation asks you to come home into your body right now. So just feel yourself sitting there in the chair, and your feet on the floor, and as you take a long, slow, deep breath, feel this quality of comfort coming over you. You can be yourself here. You can be secure, safe, even cozy. I'd like you to bring to mind a particular time or place where you felt this way. Warm, comfortable, completely at ease. However momentary it may have been, just imagine right now how you felt when you were content, secure, satisfied, relaxed. If you'd like to close your eyes and just settle into this feeling, you're welcome to, or you can leave your eyes open. But breathe. Breathe deeply and experience the comfort of what you might define as home. A nest. A safe place that's yours, that you belong in. Just as a tree belongs where it's planted. There may be loved ones who share this space with you, in which you make home together. If you've never quite felt this way, imagine what it could have been like. Imagine a place where you completely relax and all of your guards just melt away because you're really comfortable here. In this moment, just imagine it. Feel it in your body. There's a beauty in a place like this. You might smell food cooking, maybe your favorite apple pie, or smells come in, and you just feel the beauty and coziness of home. Whether this place really exists in the world or just in your mind's eye, vividly create it right now. You can feel comfortable and secure in this place, where every cell of your body starts to hum or purr like a kitty cat. You can just imagine Anya's beautiful Bengal kitty cat purring as you pet him. Our souls can bask in that kind of comfort. Home is full of gentle, gentle energy, smooth, good, warm energy that resonates deeply. Like roots that draw nourishment from the soil, breathe in this tranquility. Feel it spread through your whole being, bathing every cell of your body right now in this feeling in your heart. Even though you're creating it in your mind, it's real when you create it. And as you breathe, let the shells and the shields and the rigidified energy that you've had to protect yourself with start softening and melting away a little bit. Because you come here today to feel spirit, to feel that you are one with spirit, and to come into this place where you can relax and replenish yourself and heal. In this kind of space, this home place, your whole being starts to hum, and maybe a little smile starts to crack in the corners of your mouth, and you realize that you can replenish yourself. You can heal. You can breathe in these energies in this place and relax and smile and savor your home inside. Yes. Thank you for being here.
This next song has actually never been sung in public, because it's a new song. It's called Journey to Completion. For Norma.
And everything.
And everyone.
You and I are on this journey. There's no turning back. We've crossed over now into the dream time, to the dream time. We are here to find our way to the home in our hearts, to know our own souls in the shadows, in the shadows, in the shadow. It's the journey, it's the journey, it's the journey to completion, to our souls, to our souls. There's a call that you have. You must listen to it now, where the road of our past becomes the path for our souls. It can lead you somewhere new. It can guide you all the way through. It's what you need to do. There are gifts waiting for you in the journey, in the shadow, in the journey to completion. It's the journey, it's the journey, it's the journey to completion for our soul, to our soul. You and I are on this journey. There's no turning back. We've crossed over now into the dream time, into the dream time. It's the journey, it's the journey, it's the journey to completion. It's the journey, it's the journey, it's the journey to completion, to our souls, to our souls, to our souls.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Can't you kind of feel the call in that, like the longing to set out on a journey? We go on lots of kinds of journeys on our lives. Every time we go on a trip, a traveling trip, it's a journey. But we get called into this lifetime, into this incarnation, to to go on a journey. And so there's a very familiar theme in humanity all over the planet when you hear about this call to go on a journey. And we're going to be talking about that today. And when I was in my 20s, I was in Berkeley, and I went to the Catholic Student Union for a meeting that I heard was going on there with some Indian people, Native American people. And I sat in this little cold room with hard chairs to be with these amazing people that were dressed in these white costumes that had embroidery all over them, and they had on hats that had feathers on them. It was the Huichols. There they were. My first time to see them in this little cold gray room in Berkeley. And their beautiful colored garments were such a contrast and a warmth and a feeling of at-homeness when I saw them. And old Guadalupe said to all of us, she said, "You can come to completion." And that really hooked my interest. What did she mean by that? Coming from a Christian context, you think about things like total sanctification or enlightenment, or what is completion, you know? Well, there's a verse out of the Bible in Matthew that we may have heard before in this way from the King James Version. It's from Matthew 5:48, and it says, "Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which in heaven is perfect." So there's something in there about getting to some place of perfection or completion. But I'm so glad that the Aramaic has started to be translated, because it's quite a different interpretation of it. The imagery of inviting all parts of ourselves home is here, back to the table, like the prodigal son. This is what really lies at the heart of the Aramaic sense of what it means to be perfect, calling all of the parts of ourselves back home. In this passage, the word for perfect, gamar, comes from a verb meaning to accomplish or fulfill oneself, or to be complete. And it has a secondary meaning, that we can be completely consumed, or cease, or disappear. The Aramaic picture of the soul links these seeming opposites, those two meanings, because when self-images held by the soul are no longer needed, then they've fulfilled their purpose, and they can fade away or be transformed. Self-images, when they're no longer needed, can be transformed or fade away. The Greek gospel text uses the word teleos here for this word gamar, and it carries a similar meaning of being mature or complete. Unfortunately, both the Aramaic and the Greek meanings of perfect have been generally ignored in favor of the interpretation that we've heard maybe in our more fundamentalist Christian religions, like that we have to have doctrinal purity or the right belief that makes one perfect. But here at Unity, that's not what we talk about. We talk more about this journey of the soul. And so the interpretation in the Aramaic of that one little verse might sound more like this. Be complete. Develop yourself to the fullest degree. Just as the source of all constantly bears fruit, completing all movements in unity. Isn't that beautiful? Much better. Or another translation of it is, be fulfilled in all of yourselves. Know them until they cease to know themselves. Grow with them until they outgrow themselves in a reborn I am. The knowing, growing parenting, that's God, the knowing, growing parenting of the cosmos completes itself through you. Isn't that beautiful? The knowing, growing parenting of the cosmos completes itself through you. So this journey to completion, what is it really all about? I've asked Gloria, because she's our resident Greek, you know, to come and read this wonderful poem about the journey home, the journey to completion, by a Greek poet. And Gloria is going to explain it and read it for us. The mic.
great honor for me to read from the Greek poem, Konstantin Cavafy, Ithaca. Cavafy was born on April 29, 1863, and died on his 70th birthday, April 29, 1933, his allotted 70 on the dot. In an autobiographical note written in his midlife, before he returned to live in his native home in Greece, he wrote, "I am from Constantinople by descent, and I was born in Alexandria at a house on Serif Street. I left very young and spent much of my childhood in England. Subsequently, I visited my homeland as an adult, but for a short period of time, I have also lived in France. During my adolescence, I lived over 2 years in Constantinople. It has been many years since I last visited Greece, the home of my heart." Ithaca by Konstantin Cavafy. When you set out on your journey to Ithaca, pray that the road's a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. The Laestrygonians and the Cyclops, the angry Poseidon, do not fear them. You won't find them on your path if your thoughts remain lofty and a fine emotion touches your spirit. The Laestrygonians, the Cyclops, the fierce Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you carry them within your soul. Pray that the road is long. May there be many a summer morning when, with such pleasure, with such joy, you enter ports you've never seen. Stop at Phoenician markets, purchase fine merchandise, mother of pearl and coral, amber and ebony, and sensual perfumes of all kinds, as many sensual perfumes as you can. Visit many Egyptian cities, discover new things, learn from scholars. Always keep Ithaca in your mind. To arrive there is your ultimate goal. But do not hurry the voyage at all. It is better to let it last for many years and to finally arrive at the island when you are old, wealthy with all you have gained on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Ithaca has given you the beautiful voyage. Without her, you would never have set on your road. She has nothing more to give you. And if you find her poor, Ithaca has not deceived you. Wise as you may have become, filled with so much experience, you will finally understand what an Ithaca means.
Don't be afraid. I'll just say a little intro.
Okay.
This is So the poem about Ithaca, it asks you to imagine, what does Ithaca mean? And do you feel in it some sense of what your journey might be all about? The lingerings along the way, the different things that you gather along the way. We're going to be talking today about this journey in more detail and referring to some of the parts of the Ithaca poem. And the song that's going to be sung right now is another reminder about who you are on this journey. Because as I was saying in the first poem, you may be bigger and your journey may be larger than you have even let yourself imagine. Because we're not just really from one tiny little place, but we're from planet Earth. We are earthlings on this grand journey together, and this song takes us there.
So I just want to give a preface for this song because my singing teacher in '96 wrote this song. It's called I Am. And I downloaded it for 99 cents on her website, pilar.com, Pilar. I encourage you to, if you like it, to download it because it's a beautiful song and she's got an incredible voice as well. And then there will be at the end for you a chance to sing along at the end, and the words are I give love, I give love, I give life, I give love, I have God deep within.
Give life, and I give love, and I have God deep within. I am your mother, the earth. I can take life or give birth. Open your eyes and see. I am the air you breathe. I am this land you tread. I am the lives that blend. I am the moon and tide. I am the horse you ride. I am the rain. I am the sun. I am this home you lost, the only one. I am the wells that roll, the ocean blue. I am a beating heart in love with you. I give life, and I give love. I have God deep within. I give peace. I give joy. And I can heal or destroy. I am your mother. I can take life or give birth. Open your eyes and see. I am the air you breathe. I am this land you tread. I am the lives that bled. I am the moon and tide. I am the horse you ride. I am the rain. I am the sun. I am this home. The only one. I am the wells that roll, the ocean blue. I am a beating heart in love with you.
So blessing to have Jane's kind of songs with us because they bathe you in this feeling, don't they? Mm-hmm. Feeling of the presence of love, divine, and in this case in the song of Mother Earth, holding us on these journeys that we're on. We're not alone. We're here very much a part of this energy that is planet Earth. We heard today of the story of Odysseus, who was on the journey to Ithaca. That story is 2,800 years old. It's one of the oldest stories in Western literature. And the metaphor of life as a journey is one of those smooth, round stones worn and polished by such constant use. Homer's story says that the king, Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, had to leave his homeland and go on a journey. He was called to fight the Trojan War. And he was off doing that for 10 years. And then 10 years it took him to make his way back to Ithaca. And along the way there were more challenges. And even when he reached his destination and got all the way home to Ithaca, he still felt like he had to disguise himself. And he couldn't really be his true identity yet after he got back home. The story is a metaphor for our own spiritual journeys. That's why it's lasted all these years. Because there are internal challenges that bring us down into places when our spirit meets the bone. Kind of like they say, the rubber hits the road. It's like our spirit hits the bone. So it's about the disguises that we continue to wear, even when we have arrived at a safe home place. And the internal wrestling that goes on, perhaps it never ends as long as we're here on planet Earth. As long as our mind is capable of engaging deeply with our ever-changing selves. As we move from one year to the next, from one era of our lives to the next, from one situation, from one relationship to the next, the challenges of healing are there. And they're moving us more and more deeply forward on our journey. So the Ithaca poem's theme is about the lifelong journey toward home. Toward feeling at home with oneself. It's about the internal journey as we move through the chapters in our life with the enjoyments on the one hand and the pain and losses on the other. Ithaca is a reminder, too, of our tendency to carry things within us that prevent us from enjoying the mystery, like you heard Gloria read about the Cyclopses and the Lestrygonians. Is that how you say it?
Lestrygonians. They were mythological creatures that were...
Lestrygonians. And I read that both of them, the Cyclopses and the Lestrygonians, were cannibals.
Yeah.
So, in other words, they're energies that eat us up, that eat up our energy and drain us. Scary, you know. And then there's Poseidon one, too, you know, like Poseidon, the great god of nature that can make these earthquakes happen and tidal waves and all these natural events can happen that are surprises and that aren't even a part of our, you know, human creation. So we humans have lots of things to deal with on our journeys. We have big monsters and, you know, big waves and things that happen. But in this poem, Ithaca, Cavafy tells us that there's an awesome secret that you might have picked up in Gloria's reading. It says that you will only encounter them if you are carrying them within your soul. You won't find them on your path if your thoughts remain lofty and a fine emotion touches your spirit. Yet, we do all encounter them, don't we? So we haven't arrived there yet. And yet we each have to attain these finer emotions, this change in perception, this grace of forgiveness. So of course we're to understand that the Ithaca story is a journey that we are all on toward this place of inner peace, toward this place where we have that fine emotion of reconciliation and forgiveness. There's another story that is 2,000 years old. That's a story, a similar story that's of men on a journey. Lots of times here we're talking about the feminine divine coming, and we use a lot of stories of women, but I thought it would be great today to use 2 stories of men on journeys. You know, just to show that we, men and women, go through these things, you know, and we're equal in the challenges of our journeys. And this other story is a familiar one too, and it comes from this book. Lots of times we don't like to refer to the Bible in our modern times because we've been damaged by church and we have hard feelings about what we might have been through in churches, but there's some pretty good stories in here, you know, some archetypal stories. And the one that I'm referring to, this 2,000-year-old story about these men on a journey, has been called The Prodigal Son. And you know, I was just on a journey in Mexico, and there the Catholicism is still very alive and well. And the native people, the Mexican people, go to the big cathedral in town. And any particular day I went there, there were people inside worshiping in the cathedral. And it was beautiful in a way because there were brown Jesuses and brown Guadalupes, and you know, people of color were represented there. And they identify with the journey of the Christ and the journey of the Marys. And there's a richness of culture there that's still using these stories. And the story of the prodigal son is familiar to us, you know. But I want to present today that it's not the story of the prodigal son, it's the story of the prodigal sons. Okay, do you know what I mean by that? Weren't there 2 sons in the story? There were 2 sons in the story. And one of them went away on a journey to find himself. And I'm looking at his story as the journey that one needs to go on to come to self-acceptance. Many of you maybe look at yourselves as a black sheep in your family and you went off far away, like from New York to California, like I did, to find ourselves, you know. And many of you have been on that kind of a journey where you've had to leave your home and go far from it to find your true self, your truer self. But then on this son's journey, he came to this place where he realized that he had some reconciliation to do in his heart if he was really going to find his whole self. And so he called his father and said, I want to come home. I want to come back. And the father in the story was a generous-hearted parent, right? And he welcomed that. He didn't scold his son. He didn't blame him. He didn't say, you shouldn't have gone away in the first place. You left me and your brother to do everything. No, he didn't say any of that. He welcomed the son back, and he said, kill the fatted calf and bring out new robes for him. And so a big celebration, an open-hearted celebration, welcoming the son who had gone off in search of his own self and self-acceptance. But then there's the second son. And the second son had stayed home all that time and tended the home and taken care of the farm and worked with the father. And so I have 2 candles here today, and I wanted to light each of them to represent the 2 sons. And the second son is one that maybe as black sheep in our families we don't identify with as much, I don't know. But the second son is the one that has to experience forgiveness, because he has done the right thing, you know, and has stayed with his father all through the years, and he's got something of resentment in his heart and something of self-righteousness, and he's got the feeling that he was wronged in some way, or that he lost something that was important to him. He's not getting the fatted calf and the new robes given to him. He's been there the whole time. But the father said to him, your brother came home. Can't you see this? Because he was lost and now he is found. I'm asking you to join your heart with mine to celebrate this. So I'm going to light these 2 candles and ask you to begin to think about this topic of estrangement. At first it seemed like the one son was estranged because he was off in a foreign land and far away from home. But then when he came home, it seemed like the second son was estranged. And I think that we've got both of these parts within us. We've got the part inside of us that's struggling for self-acceptance and searching and journeying in lots of ways to find our self-acceptance. And then we've got this other part of us that can be very self-righteous and blaming of others who have hurt us in some way that we perceive. And we've got people in our lives that we're estranged from various perspectives that we're holding. So all of these journeys of Ithaca and the journeys of the prodigal sons are about journeys of estrangement and reconciliation. This is the ancient journey story on planet Earth. The story of estrangement and reconciliation. It's just very human, this story. Lots of times we think that maybe only certain people have to deal with it. But as you can see in setting the tone with these different songs and the two stories today, it's a very human thing, our estrangement and our journey towards reconciliation. So this is just part one of my talk. But during this song that's going to be sung next, I want you to take a piece of paper that's on your chair. And if you have a pen or can share a pen with each other, I want you to think about people in your life that you're estranged from. Is there anybody that you're still estranged from? It might be people in your own family. It might be friends. It might be ex-lovers. It might be people in the community that you've had a falling out with. Sometimes even in our spiritual communities, there can be estrangement. And what we're going to do with these lists of the names of people is that we're going to collect them in these baskets and put them in our prayer box and have our prayer warriors on Monday afternoon pray over these names and these estrangements that exist in our lives. And we're going to watch miracles happen. Because it's our job, it's our journey, it's our human journey to go on these journeys of healing of the estrangements in our life. And in a few minutes after the song, I'm going to talk to you more specifically about how. But right now, just focus in on some names of people that you'd like to put on this list. Estrangements in your own life that need healing. And we'll, as the song comes to a close, we'll come along and collect them in a basket. And you can fold them. Nobody needs to see them. We're not going to be reading them. We're going to keep them in a symbolic way in the prayer box and pray over them. And we're going to ask you in your life to keep these people in your mind and see what happens over the next month in regard to these estrangements. So please write them down as you hear this beautiful song about being held. You being held in this moment of thinking about these rifts in your life, and you holding these beloved estranged ones as we pray for them with this song.
This song's called Won't You Hold Me? I wrote it in 1998. Dissolving since I met you. All that I believed in doesn't seem true. It's like I'm floating above solid ground. And I'm grasping for answers all around. Won't you love me while I feel the change? I've held on to form to feel secure. Now that I have none, I don't feel so sure. My heart is cracking from the truth I know. Find out what's so. Won't you hold me while I make the change? Won't you love me while I feel the change? Here right now. Embrace the spirit that grace allows. Illusions of mine are everywhere. It's nothing to run from, but be aware. I've got to be true with myself, you know. So this love can grow. Won't you hold me while I make the change? Won't you love me while I feel the change? Thank you. It's beautiful. Your songs have a way of making difficult things seem easier. Because what you're saying, they're dissolving ourselves. Self-acceptance and forgiveness are kind of difficult topics. For most of us, they carry lots of meanings and many emotions. And that song helped us to feel like it's possible
to go through these changes that are actually even dissolvings of ourself in a way that we can be held. And I think that's one reason why we come to a spiritual community, to be with one another as we go through these changings and dissolvings of our rigid ideas about who we are and how things have to be. But forgiveness, there can be resistance to it. Sometimes I even have resistance in speaking about it. But there's a psychologist named Robert Caron, and he writes about resistance, and he said, in talking to people about forgiveness, I've been surprised at the resistance that smart, sensitive people can feel to this subject. They believe that to forgive might be to condone somehow the harmful things that people have done. That it's not only a pardon of past crimes, but a virtual license to commit them again. That to forgive is to lack the guts to call a spade and to condemn what deserves condemnation. They feel that to forgive can be a kind of coercion that takes no account of how bad the offense was or the degree of contrition of the offender or the emotional readiness even of the victim to let go. He says, I have a friend who told me point blank and with some passion, I don't believe in forgiveness. And it was for these reasons that he just said. But then she admitted, once I really understand, then I can't hold a grudge anymore. That's the big thing for me, coming to understanding. And so he said to her, well, so do you believe in forgiveness then? And she said again, well, how do you define forgiveness? And he said, well, allowing someone back into your heart. And she thought a moment. She said, well, if you define it that way, of course I do. Allowing someone back into your heart. It seems forgiveness requires us to see the humanity in another, even when they've hurt us. Forgiveness is about love in the face of imperfection. And when you come down to it, love only exists in the face of imperfection, right? It's bottom line. Forgiveness is about love. Giving it and asking for it and receiving it. And we find ourselves in our journey in life in all those different roles, right? Sometimes we're the giver of love. Sometimes we need to receive it. And sometimes we have to ask for it. Ask for forgiveness. Sometimes the hardest thing of all is forgiving ourselves. So forgiveness is about love, yes, but you know, it's also about anger. And I think that's why it's hard to talk about sometimes. The Webster's Dictionary definition of to forgive is to cease to feel resentment against. So sometimes it's so compelling to hold on to our anger because it seems like our best protection to be angry at a wrong that's been done to us. There's a cute story about a minister dad whose son had his bicycle stolen. And his son's name was Carl. And the minister wrote this. He said, when Carl got his bike stolen last week, I got so angry. First I was angry at Carl. Why did he have to go to that stupid meeting? He should have been home studying in the first place. And then I was angry at the petty thieves of the world, those who invade our privacy, who intrude into our spaces, who exist by dishonesty. The monetary loss was secondary to me. It was the intrusion that made me most angry. I drove downtown and picked up Carl, and I just asked him a few questions in a stiff way, like, where did you leave it? What did the cops say? And then we drove home in silence. And it wasn't the kind of silence that I speak about in my sermons, he said. It was an angry silence. I was angry and upset at Carl, and it wasn't about the possession. But later that evening it came clear to me that I hadn't done the right thing. And I felt terribly sorry. And so I called Carl into the kitchen. And I told him that I felt really badly over his loss. And he hung his head down and said something about, well, it was his fault. And I said, no, it could have happened to anyone. And I knew that it was a painful loss for him and that I would call the insurance company the next morning. Well, the loss of the bicycle is one of those lesser losses in a lifetime, to be sure, he said. But even it needs a response better than anger. It needs a response that says, I care, and I'm willing to feel into your situation. I needed to do that better. And when I did, I felt a lot better. So that's a simple story of a loss. And there are momentous times in our lives when the losses are a lot bigger and when things might be a lot harder to forgive, such as maybe your parents got divorced. Or maybe your partner has been unfaithful. Or maybe you have been lied to. Or maybe you lied. Maybe you've been disappointed really deeply with a loved one, with something they did. Or maybe you've actually been physically or mentally abused. When someone we love has been violently hurt or killed, it's really hard to forgive. Or when we as a society have disregarded or diminished a whole group of people. During such times, small and large, there's a need to give or receive forgiveness. But during those times, we feel alone, disconnected, estranged. It's this feeling of brokenness and estrangement that draws us to try to forgive. When the discomfort and the pain become intolerable, we seek to answer the question, how is it possible to forgive? Well, in South Africa, the loss and the pain was tremendous during apartheid. And the black people there could have easily gone to a very self-righteous anger. But you know the story. Instead, they formed these courts of reconciliation, where they brought the men and women who had hurt them before them, and they had them listen to the stories of the women and mothers who were crying and saying, there's a picture of my son that you killed. He was a good boy, and he was like this, and here's my daughter who you killed. And the ones who had done it had to listen to those stories. And I saw a movie about it a few years ago. And through the entire movie, I was sobbing and crying so hard watching those courts of reconciliation that my shirt was literally wet when I went out of the movie. Forgiveness is about anger, yes, but underneath, what's hiding underneath the anger is grief and loss. So forgiveness is about allowing ourselves to get in touch with a deep grief and loss. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, like lots of times we say forgive and forget. No, forgiveness is about remembering. It's the courage to actually remember what hurt us, and then to speak to ears that can hear it, and then to experience healing. Bishop Desmond Tutu said, forgiving, he's from South Africa. And have you ever seen him? He smiles a lot and laughs a lot, and yet he went through so much. And he says, forgiving means abandoning your right to pay back the perpetrator in his own coin. Forgiving means abandoning your right to pay back the perpetrator in his own coin. But it's a loss to you. But it liberates you. In the courts of reconciliation, he said, we heard people speak of a sense of relief after forgiving, a sense of coming home to their right minds. An issue of the journal Spirituality and Health had a picture of U.S. servicemen standing in front of the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., and one is asking the other, have you forgiven those who held you prisoner of war? And the other one replies, I will never forgive them. And his mate says to him, then it seems they still have you in prison, don't they? Yeah. So forgiveness, it's not even so much for the one that you're forgiving, it's for yourself, right? But it's interesting that in the United States culture, lots of people don't gravitate towards forgiveness. Like if you hear somebody say that, I got hit by a drunk driver, and if he says to you, I just really feel like killing that guy, you nod your head with understanding. But if after he gets hit with a drunk driver, he says, I just really feel like forgiving that guy, you might double take and go, what? What did he just say? in our culture, we tend to accept vengeance long before we expect forgiveness. Yet vengeance keeps us powerless indefinitely and prevents us from moving on. Seeking the humanity in others, Desmond Tutu puts it, offers us freedom. But the road to freedom is long. Trauma healing expert Bella Ruth Naperstek, in this wonderful book called Invisible Heroes, reminds us that forgiveness is slow, gradual, incremental. Although it can sometimes happen in a zap of grace, that's not usually how it happens. It's more likely to occur by degrees over time, with starts and stops, progress and backsliding. Isn't that comforting? She says people are sometimes expected to forgive too early in their healing process because it's the right thing to do socially or it's expected of them. She asks us to realize that no survivor of trauma should be made to feel that they have to forgive. Some don't want to face the raw pain that's beneath the anger, and they might not have a safe enough container to do that. So she says premature forgiveness doesn't hold up. Premature forgiveness doesn't hold up. And it can interfere with the trajectory of psychological recovery because it asks people to lie to themselves. For this reason, it's important to approach forgiveness only when we are ready to do it from the inside. This takes a genuine intention to eventually wind up at forgiveness, no matter how long it takes. You hear what I'm talking about here? There's a journey. There's a journey involved. We work with forgiveness in much too glib of a way. The South African courts of reconciliation are a great model because they had people come together in a held way, together, like the song of James was saying, to be held in this. And they took a long time to hear the stories of the atrocities publicly, and then to hear the confessions of the perpetrators. And then the victims came to the place where they could agree to not sue for damages and to not want the perpetrators to be hurt or killed, and even out of their hearts to give them amnesty. Because in this process, vengeance was interrupted and healing began for a whole nation. Sometimes I think that this is the thing that's got to happen in the United States. Courts of reconciliation. Big town meetings of healing and forgiveness. It's true that when we look underneath of our anger, forgiveness is really a stage of grief. You know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief? You know what they are? Grief has denial in it, then anger, then bargaining, then depression, and then acceptance. Well, we could suggest that forgiveness is the 6th stage of grief. Forgiveness is what you do when you've lost something important, a relationship, a dream, a self-image, a physical ability, and you still feel empty or bitter inside. You start forgiving the other person for having died or left you or injured you. It allows you to not only move on, but to become stronger and more loving. There's a woman named Mariah Burton Nelson, and she published a book a few years ago called The Unburdened Heart. The Unburdened Heart. And in this book, it's a great book if you want to look at it, but she talks about that there are myths and then there are truths about forgiveness. And so here's just a couple of them. She says it's a myth that to forgive is letting somebody off the hook. She says forgiveness and justice are really separate issues. You can forgive someone and still press charges and keep people safe. You can forgive and still seek justice. And then she says it's a myth that offering forgiveness implies that what the other person did was okay. No. She says it's not to condone or excuse or tolerate or overlook or disregard or trivialize or minimize the offense when we forgive. We're actually doing an act of awareness because we're not minimizing it by listening to ourselves and the hurt and by having others listen to us. If it wasn't hurtful, forgiveness wouldn't be necessary. So she says, many of us believe that our own happiness cannot be achieved until someone comes bowing and crawling on their knees to us and saying they're finally sorry. But she says our happiness is not dependent upon the behavior of other people. The forgiver changes our focus from if only they would to I wonder if I could. If only they would to I wonder if I could. She says forgiveness is a skill that we've got to practice, and she should know. She compares it to shooting baskets in the hoop, and she was an all-star at Stanford University as a basketball player. So for her to say that it takes practice like shooting the ball into the hoop, she knows what she's talking about. So how do we actually get the skill of forgiving? I was lucky down in Mexico to go to the writers' conference there, and there was a wonderful woman writer called Laura Davis from the Bay Area, and she wrote a book called I Thought We'd Never Speak Again. Isn't that a great title? I Thought We'd Never Speak Again. She herself is a survivor of sexual abuse, so she knows what she speaks of. And in this book, she helps to identify 6 steps that constitute the journey from estrangement to reconciliation. And I'm just going to share them briefly with you, but I'd love for you to get the book. I Thought We'd Never Speak Again. She says, the first thing is to bring ourselves to the present moment. Not what happened back then, but what's happening right now. For example, if you have hard feelings with your father, say to yourself, every time I talk to him on the phone, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. He seems clearly angry, and yet he won't tell me why. Okay, so bring yourself into the present moment about this person that you're estranged from and name what's going on in the present moment. Okay? The second thing is, then go ahead to yourself and list all of your complaints, your resentments, and the things that you don't like that bother you about this person from the past. So get the painful stuff out, number 2, by naming it to yourself. In other words, become aware of it. Number 3, Laura Davis says, then list all the regrets that you carry, all the things that you wish you had said to them at the time. That if only you could have said it a little differently or done it a little differently. Be honest about your own role in the estrangement. Then number 4, next, identify all the ways that the estrangement is benefiting you. She says, this might seem like a crazy thing to do, but even in a situation that hurts you, there may be rewards, such as sympathy that you're getting for being a victim, or safety. By not reconciling, there might be benefits that you have. Whoa. Number 5, she says, ask yourself how the estrangement is hurting you. What price are you paying in your life for being separated from this person? And finally, number 6, she says, think about how far into the future this wound will affect things if you let it keep going. Will it affect the next generations? Is it affecting your kids and your grandchildren? So what's interesting to me about Davis's 6 steps is that she helps us to acknowledge that both of the sons in the prodigal son story are inside of us. The resentful and the repentant are both there. But like a tangle of yarn, we've got to tease them apart. And that's the work that prepares us for forgiveness. But even with Davis's helpful steps that assist us with this self-reflection, and even with the best of intentions, each of us who has experienced estrangement knows that the road to reconciliation is filled with potholes and unanticipated changes in direction, and speed bumps, and other hazards, maybe even Listradonians and Cyclopses. But we can easily wrap ourselves in the older son's anger, loving our rage and refusing to see what's really there at the center of it. We can say that we're seeking reconciliation, but really we might be in search of an apology. We think that reconciliation should happen on our schedule. but we're not taking into account that this other person has been having all their feelings for years too. Reconciliation can't happen without our own generosity of spirit. So the parable of the two sons offers us an invitation to explore the journey of estrangement and reconciliation in the most intimate of situations, in our families, in our family-like relationships. We think about war ending in the world, but it's got to start here. It's got to start in looking deeply into our own selves about where our estrangements still exist. For it seems to me that no matter which direction we face in our world today, that we're peering down the long road towards a distant destination called Ithaca, called reconciliation and forgiveness. And some of the paths are personal, like our own relationships, but many of them wind through our communities where we spend our days, neighborhoods divided against themselves, or even lost parts of our nation, the blue side and the red side. There are deeply entrenched estrangements, no matter where we look. When I sight down these long roads, see if you agree with me, but I want to see compassionate parents, like the one in the prodigal son story, who are so ready and willing to offer forgiveness when anyone turns around. And I hope that we can see those rare folk who, like the son who left, are willing to honestly name our own faults and actually repent. And let us not be like the elder brother who holds tight-fisted to his anger and resentment and need to be right. The many roads from estrangement to reconciliation are ours to tread. You see, that's the final lesson that I take from these ancient stories of Odysseus and the prodigal sons, that really there are only participants. There are no observers when it comes to the work of forgiveness. These ancient stories tell us pretty much the main thing that we need to know. The challenge is we've got to get on the long road toward home. That's it, really. Knowing that the hope of reconciliation is always there, it's always possible, but we've got to get on the road toward it. We've got to accept our lives and know that we're journeying toward reconciliation and forgiveness. Walt Whitman says, "Now understand me well, it is provided in the essence of things that from any fruition of success comes forth something to make greater struggle necessary." So the spiritual reward of this work is an increasing maturity of the soul, but it's an ongoing journey. From a spiritual point of view, what more could we ask than a journey that leads home? I conclude with a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who wrote also about Ulysses, Odysseus, and it's a poem called, very short poem called Ulysses. Old age has yet its honor and its toil. Death closes all. But something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strive with gods. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a new world, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now the strength which in the old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Will you join me in this intent? To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield? We're all headed. All humans are headed toward the same home. In the end, that's what we believe in unity. The same goal is the desire to convey to others what we are, says Nobel Peace Prize winner Pablo Neruda. He says we must pass through solitude and difficulty, isolation and silence, in order to reach forth to the enchanted place where we can dance our clumsy dance and sing our lonely song But in this dance and in this song are fulfilled the most ancient rights of our conscience in the awareness of being human and of believing in a common destiny. We are all on this journey toward home, toward completion, and every human will get there. This is what we believe in unity. In spite of our flaws and our mistakes, our faults and our failures, real or imagined, we are all headed towards Ithaca. And as we journey on this ship called forgiveness, may there be many a morning when with joy we enter ports or places seen for the first time, or what feels like the first time, and we see with our new and more mature eyes our home. There's a beautiful song that Jane has too. Okay. Well, while you sing, beautiful song that Jane has to sing for us called Coming Home. And there's a chorus part in it that you can sing, but this song just caps it off.
So reach into your pockets. If you value what you've got here, please share as much as you can. We really rely on your donations.
Turning toward home, home to my heart, same heart as yours, same home as mine, and I'm finally coming on home, finally coming on home, yearning for home, far from myself, and all these stories of your life and mine, illusions of glory, playing chase with the mind. No more looking outward, no more chasing dreams. Home is where my heart is, it's easy as it seems, and I'm finally coming on home, finally coming on home. My home is here in my heart. Everywhere I am home. It's a blessed journey to come home to truth. Life can be joyous, and I'm living proof
bless the offering and say, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. And now I'd like you to rub your hands together again and direct them toward our altar and these names. Send your healing energy towards these names that represent places in our lives where we still have experienced estrangement. But we proclaim today together that we are on a journey home, that we are on a journey to reconciliation. We are on a journey to healing of these splits in our lives. And today, we take that unity leap of faith to see, as if it's already completed, the accomplishment of the forgiveness that these names represent. So let's just hold that vision for just a moment, thinking of the names that you put there. And yes, it's a leap, but if people in South Africa could do it, we can do it. We can get there, whatever it takes. Just hold that vision together for just a moment, knowing that where 2 or 3 agree, it is done. It is done. Amen. And so it is. It's a good day to have the Diksha givers with us, because talking about a topic like this brings up stuff for us. And after the service, it would be wonderful if you came and sat here and received the blessing of oneness. The blessing of oneness that's available to us to change our perceptions so that we can hold that vision of oneness. So we're very thankful to have Diksha givers available to us and our own prayer chaplains too. So we'll gather over on this side here afterwards. So if you stand with me now, and we won't get into our final circle. So just have a moment of touching one another and feeling the connection. And we thank you, God, for this spiritual community. We thank you, God, that you are inside of us, that we can feel the love through these hands, through this community, through each other. Thank you for this kind of mindset, this kind of gathering place where we can come to encourage ourselves and strengthen ourselves on the journey. We're headed toward Ithaca. We've got fellow journeyers on the way, and we're so thankful.